In this video, I'm going to share with you my best direct-to-vendor marketing strategies. It's the ultimate way that you can start negotiating with the sellers so that you can get off-market property, which is where all the smart investors know where to go. The idea is you're going to negotiate the best property opportunities because you can negotiate directly with the seller. So if you want to know how to do that, then watch the rest of this video. Hit the like button if you haven't already, and let's dive right in. If you use these strategies, then you can negotiate below market value property, allowing your money to go that much further and building your property portfolio that much quicker. Imagine if you're buying property for 30, 40, or even 50 grand below market value. Think of how you could then save all that money and then put it into more property so that you can start accelerating your portfolio, which a lot of investors get stuck in the position where they can't negotiate these deals and they end up stuck with just a few properties. Well, if you can use these expert strategies, and I'm going to break them down for you, so don't worry about it. I'm going to use these strategies so that you can start purchasing and build your portfolio that much quicker. So first we have to understand what is direct to vendor. Well, in my opinion, direct to vendor is when you're getting directly to the seller as opposed to going through a middleman. So typically properties that are on the market, and that's kind of the criteria, is you're going off market. So you might have heard that term of off market. Well, that's essentially property that isn't being currently advertised on your Rightmove, Zooplas, or whatever it is. You're cutting out the middleman, which is the estate agent, and it's allowing you then to talk to the seller directly. Typically what's happening there is you haven't got the rest of the competition. When it's being advertised on those kind of portals, then you've got everybody looking at the property and you're competing against all the other potential buyers. Whereas when you're direct to vendor, then you can get in front of that person, negotiate, and it also gives you the ability of implementing some more creative strategies like lease options, vendor finance, exchange with delayed completion. No matter what it is, you can start implementing these other more advanced strategies. But ultimately, all you're trying to do is negotiate the property down. And if you negotiate below market value, what you're doing essentially is getting property under the market value that is currently. Say, for example, all the properties on the street are 100,000 and they're all 3 beds, roughly the same size. Then maybe you can negotiate it for £70,000, being 30 grand below market value. And what you're doing there is negotiating with the seller because they want to move on quickly. They just want the cash and they want the certainty. And possibly the reason for that is because their family member has just passed away, unfortunately, and they just want to get rid of the property. But you wouldn't know that if you were going through an agent or a middleman. This is the reason why direct to vendor strategies are so important in the growth of your property portfolio and your journey as a property investor. So now you might be wondering, how do I get in touch with these vendors? Well, that's what I'm going to lay out in the strategies right here. You can also purchase property pre and post auction. So what you're doing is kind of cutting out the auction house. But what I would say is that if they do find out, obviously what you got to do is make sure you're paying them as well. I do suggest to pay the auction fee. All you want to do is pay the auction house and negotiate with the seller beforehand. So you can go pre or post auction, but the idea is that you're getting to use the legal pack, going through the legal pack, finding out who the seller is, or going on land registry, finding the property, and then sending them a letter. But if you can go through the legal pack, you might be able to decipher who the owner of the property is, and then go and talk to them directly. We've done this exact strategy. So what happened was, we were going for a property that was about to go into auction. We were negotiating with the seller because we found it within the legal pack, and we talked to them. They were going through a pretty stressful situation. They were pretty ill. What we were able to do then was negotiate an offer with them, and that could be one of the strategies that could work for you. I think it's a strategy that we want to use even more because that was something that was quite successful. But you can talk to the person and you can negotiate directly with them even before the auction happens, which is really nice. You're not having to compete on it. And usually properties that are going outside of auction then offer more of a reason because they're even more desperate because the property hasn't sold. So that might be a way that then you can negotiate even better deal from there. So what you want to do then is sign up to as many auction houses as you can within your investment area, even ones outside of the area, because I actually find that a lot of properties in Wales specifically are selling in London auction houses, because obviously the idea behind it is that people in London are buying cheap houses, so marketing it there, they just see cheap valleys houses and really don't know what they're buying. So that might be an opportunity as well. But anyway, sign to the auction houses, then you're going to get the notifications. You can go through the lots that they have anyway, and then you can go through those legal packs once you signed up, but you do need to have access to the site in order to do that. It's the only thing that you have to do, but it's free and it's a good direct vendor marketing strategy. What you can do is work with other property professionals. So for example, a mortgage broker. A mortgage broker is in a perfect position because obviously they're dealing with mortgage transactions, so property purchases. If they find out somebody can't get the finance for a property, then they might be able to contact you, and there might be a deal that could be put through where you ended up purchasing the property instead of them. Or, for example, it could be that somebody can't refinance their house and they get it stuck in a position where they can't refinance. Then they might be able to contact you then and say, this person can't refinance, or talk to the person who's refinancing their property and suggest you and possibly that you can help them out. Ultimately being a property problem solver. So it could be the case that they're trying to refinance the property and they can't refinance it for whatever reason. You could become a property problem solver at that point, and the mortgage broker then might even suggest you to be the person who can come in and help them, because ultimately what they're going to have to do is sell the property in that case. Another way is to build relationships with builders and tradespeople. They're usually the first people who are going to get called in with their problems. If there are problems with the property, then the person might not want to renovate. It might be a heavy renovation and it might cost a lot of money. Well, give them the other option. Build a relationship with builders, tradespeople, and let them know what you do. Let them know that you can buy properties quickly. Even offer them a referral fee if the property does transact. What you can do is work with architects. Sometimes what happens is that they go through planning and they don't get it. And then it might be the reason they're looking to sell because their client hasn't got an exit for the property if they can't get the planning. Well, you could be the saving grace in that scenario and offer to purchase the property from them. And you might have another strategy that you could implement. So keeping a relationship with an architect, they might be the first people to know if something goes wrong in terms of the planning stage. What you could also do then is look at planning portals. Planning portals will have any rejections are there or any kind of issues that may arise within the planning stage, so that you can come in and go directly to the vendor that way, so you can see what applications have been put in and then what ones have been accepted or rejected, leaving a perfect opportunity. If they are rejected planning, then you may be able to help them out and purchase the property from them. Another way is to make good relationships with letting agents. So if you're with letting agents who mainly deal with property investors because they have lots of landlords on their books, there might be some of those landlords looking to exit the market, and it could be that they've got a tenant in situ or whatever reason, and you can come in and purchase the property off them, so you can get in before anyone else. And it might be the letting agent wants to keep the business with them, so you've got a key reason to then negotiate to say, look, I'll buy the property off you, I can even give you a referral fee, and I'll keep the business with you and can continue to let the property with them, so the agent doesn't lose out. Obviously, the idea is that if you're working with these people, you want to create a win-win solution for everybody involved. If you're liking this video so far, please do give us a like. It helps more than you ever know, and it helps grow the channel so we can give more value like this. And comment below if you use any of these strategies. I'd really like to know, or if you use any other strategies to purchase property direct to vendor. What you can do is build relationships with conveyancing solicitors. The idea is that you can come in and be a chain break saver. So if there are any breaks in the chain, you can come in and save those people, and you can be the kind of go-to person for that conveyancer. If anything happens, you are the trusted person who's going to purchase the property, and you can go directly to the vendor. So they are also a perfect person to know if a buyer pulls out. If the transaction breaks down, you can still be there to purchase that property and make sure that transaction goes through for them. And in many cases, this can mean below market value opportunities because that person is stressed out and they need that transaction to go through. Then you may be able to negotiate because they are in a kind of tight position and you need to purchase quick and fast. So that might be the only solution. What you might do is drive around your investment area. So what you're doing then is looking for rundown properties, going on land registry and identifying those properties and who the owners are. Now there's a couple of ways that you can then go on and do some possibly a bit sneaky stuff that can help you get directly to the vendor from there. What you can do is take a picture of the property, then go into local Facebook groups, so local hubs or whatever, and then put the picture of the property in there asking, does anybody know the person who owns this house? You post that up, you're going to get people commenting, and maybe even the owner directly comments on the property asking why you've got a picture of their house. Usually a bit of hostility might happen, or it might be the case that somebody knows the person and they can put you directly in touch with the person, or at least give you an update on the situation that they're currently having. So that way then you can look at how you can get directly to the vendor through another person. Another naughty thing that you could possibly do is put a letter on the door of the property saying that the property will be repossessed in 30 days if this notice isn't answered. So obviously they might be a bit angry with you, but they're definitely going to contact you. So just be aware. This is obviously one of the more aggressive strategies to get somebody to respond to you. But I've been known for this to work by other people. I haven't personally tried it, but just watch out for the backlash. You can use direct-to-vendor letters. This is sending a letter directly to the owner of the property using land registry, which is public information, or using the HMO licensing register, which is House of Multiple Occupation Register, to send a letter that goes directly to the owner of the property. What you're looking to do there is to get them to respond to you. The idea being, if you can get them to respond, and you're obviously going to have to send many letters in order before you do get a response, then you can then negotiate the sale of that property with them. What you can also do is build a relationship with businesses that deal with probate. So that could be your will writers, your estate planners, funeral directors. Just think about the process of when obviously somebody passes away, they have to go through probate. Who are the businesses that are dealing with that? Are there people there that could be informed first when the property could potentially be going up on the market to sell? Maybe you can get in there just before, and they might suggest you as a person, if they don't want to go through the hassle of that, they can just go in and get you to offer on the property, and it might be the direct vendor strategy you've been looking for. We had a deal that we were dealing with somebody who dealt with probate, and they introduced us directly to the seller of the property, and we were able to negotiate a bit, but we wasn't quite there, and it was one of those deals that got away. When I look back at the numbers and what the other person was able to purchase it for and what the end value could have been, I was in a time where I was very pessimistic, but the market moved quite considerably, and if I bought that property, my God, I would have made so much profit, but it's the one that got away. The next thing you can do is use Bandit boards. So these are typically boards that are we buy houses for cash, and you're going to see those. They're going to be usually like yellow background, black writing, and they're kind of really bold. You can see them around the place sometimes, but to be honest, in the UK, they don't use it as much. Just be sure to not use your personal number. Go and get an online number that can then redirect it to your own personal phone and use that so that you don't get caught, because sometimes this could be a bit of a risky strategy, but it's one I put out there. It's up to you. Obviously, you can make your decision on whether you want to do it or not, but you can also pay for these boards to be put in place, and that can work really well as well. What you can also do is, if you have purchased a property, put a board up, or even put signage all over the whole house. The idea is that you're going to then put that you buy houses in the window, and that's going to have people obviously passing on a frequent basis if you bought in a busy street or whatever it is. Potentially really cheap advertising for you, and can get seen by lots of eyeballs, and people can see that what you're actively doing it and you are purchasing property. The other thing you could do there is make sure that you have a referral fee if somebody introduces you a property. You can even put that on the sign. Say for example 500 quid for any successful transactions that happen. So incentivize people to go and find property for you. You can also get your car sign written. So you might have seen it, a lot of companies do, but you can get it with we buy houses for cash. Now, I would give a hesitation or a warning here. If you do have it and you've got it parked outside your house, then people don't take that well to landlords, unfortunately, and especially people with lots of money. One, you could get burgled. Two, people don't like landlords, so they might smash out the car anyway. So what I would suggest is getting a really cheap car, getting an MOT and an insurance on it, and then driving that to somewhere, then leaving it for a bit, then driving it somewhere else, and leaving it for a bit. Just pick up a car for about 500 quid, get it sign written, and that could be the way that you could use that. It's a really good marketing tool, and it's something that we've also considered, so it's another one in the pipeline that we really want to implement. My personal preference within online advertising is Facebook and Instagram ads. So you can use that to target people directly who are in your investment area and may have criteria. For example, they may be the case that they're in financial distress, and you could use interest targeting to then hone in on those people. A more specific way than if you were just putting adverts in newspapers or just putting out leaflets. After talking with many investors on this subject, we know that our cost per lead is a lot lower than theirs using online advertising. So if you are considering it, maybe online advertising is the way that you can go and get direct to vendor. The next strategy is the good old friends and family, letting them know what you do so they can start referring people to you. I've had people within my family let me know of potential deals. If you have the local community as well, be an active member within these communities, and then you can then pick up more deals because more people know you and they know what you do. If they know what you do and they trust you, then you're going to get more deals coming your way. I know an investor who is really well known in the local area, and they seem to get all the deals that come past. It's all because they have that relationship, they've ingrained themselves within the community, and people know who they are. Before properties even go out to the market, they're the first person in, and they built a massive portfolio as a result of this. So the next thing you can do is then go to networking events. So networking events for property specifically, so you can pick up potentially deals from other investors who may tip you off, or sourcing properties, so they might then sell the leads to you. So there's an opportunity there, finding out if there's a deal to be done, and there might be people who maybe they are the middlemen, but they might be putting you in direct contact with the person. So that might be a strategy that you could implement. Or just general networking events, business networking events, networkings around your passion, no matter what it is, local community events. Those are all potential networking events that you can attend, and you can then start to really understand who are the people who are going to then be able to introduce you to potential sellers of property. I've been given heads up by people who have a landlord, and they've said that they've told them that they're going to sell the property. So that might be another thing as well. You don't know who is out there who could potentially help you. So just let everybody know what you do. What I would suggest is finding the right strategy for you. There's lots of strategies here, but making sure that you choose the right strategy. Don't overextend yourself. Try and fuse just a handful, and then you could be more successful because you're not going to be spreading yourself too thin. Make sure you choose the right strategy that is going to work for you and that can scale. And that's the most important part. If you are going to do this, make sure it's a scalable strategy. Make sure that it's something that fits with your skill set as well. You might be really creative. You might be having a background in marketing like myself, or it might be the case that you're a very friendly person and you love the networking side of things. Maybe that works for you. So work to your strengths. That's the biggest suggestion that I can make. So if you have liked this video, please like, comment, and subscribe. It helps more than you'll ever know. And let us know in the comments, have you used any of these strategies to buy property? I would love to know. So you can go and check out some of the videos that we have. I've got below market value property by here, and I've got a new video that you can go and check out right here.